Hi Greedy 3Ders. Now you may recall that I thoroughly love my Timbertech air compressor and I did a review of it over here, and 10 months later I did a follow-up review over here. Well, spoiler alert, it's been absolutely fantastic and it still is, but I felt it was time for an upgrade, so I've bought myself a Timbertech air compressor, but this time with a tank. Let's review, stay tuned. Now, yes, I do love Timbertech, but before you think I'm some kind of Timbertech mole, here's my proof of purchase. I bought this with my own wongers on the 9th of June, costing $87.99 from the mighty Amazon. And like the rest of you, I'm sure do, I stood in the window looking out for it from dawn, and it arrived mid-evening. Elegoo was on the box, and I thought that's a bit weird, but when I looked down it said Timbertech, so all was good. Let's get it out of said box. So as I mentioned earlier, my previous Timbertech airbrush compressor was absolutely fantastic and has served me well. I've upgraded this one because I wanted a tank. I didn't want it running all the time, and this one holds a 3-litre tank, and when it is running it only runs around about 50 decibels. We'll have a little listen to it running later, but I just wanted something that didn't run all the time when I'm doing my airbrushes. So the natural conclusion was to stick a compressor tank on the airbrush, and this one I bought, as you know, for just under 90 quid by a renowned company that's given me some good products before, and there it is. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's made of aluminium, copper and steel. It comes with the usual gubbins you would expect, a water release valve there. It comes with its easy to read gauge that I've had absolutely no problems with, and you set that by just lifting the knob, turning it and then pushing the knob down when you want to lock it in. It's got a release valve which we'll see working a little bit later on to let all the pressure out of your tank itself, and there's a screw underneath as well which I'll show you later to release any moisture that gets trapped there. So let's turn it on and just have a listen. Oh, come on, as you can hear, that's not too bad, just under 50 decibels. Now, don't get caught out like I did. I was standing there thinking, I can feel some air here. Is it leaking? Is there air coming out of this? So I fiddled with it, I played with it. There's no leak. It's coming out of the cooling system. That's the whole point of having a cooling system on it, to keep the cooling levels up so it doesn't get too hot. Greedy 3D, you plonker. Absolutely worked fine. It filled itself up really, really well with air. I think I'd set it a little bit too high because it went on for a little bit. When I turned it down, it went off a little bit sooner. But again, it's not a loud noise. It's 50 decibels ish. Same as the other one, I would say. But this time, when it fills itself up, when it reaches its capacity, it will turn itself off. Now, don't let me just touching it here distract you, because I didn't turn it off. It turned itself off. And I started to use the airbrush. Let's just time how long it takes before this thing runs out of air. So there you go, 23 seconds of fairly consistent use. So I thought, well, let's just see how long it takes to refill itself up, shall we? Let's have a look at that timer. Round about the same, 23 seconds to fill itself back up. The good thing is, though, once it's emptied the tank, you can carry on using it without interruption. It works absolutely flawlessly. There's a continuation, no problem at all. So I thought I'd stick some water in it just to see how it squirts, and yeah, everything seems to be squirting absolutely fine. I've got no real issues or problems with the airbrush working. It's throwing some material through it as I would expect it to, in the fashion I would expect it to. Perfect, no issues. I believe spray painting is going to be nice and easy. That's coming out at a good old pressure. I'm exceedingly happy, and again, it's not kicked in with that use, so we get about 23 to 25 seconds of use out of it before you need to listen to it recharging itself, and then when it does that, it doesn't do it for too long. What a great bit of kit. It's still going. Realistically, when you say 23 seconds, you don't hold the airbrush down constantly for that time. You kind of touch it and let it go, and touch it and let it go. That's how we normally do airbrushing, so it's probably going to last a little bit longer than that, to be honest. Now, like its predecessor, there is a moisture trap which sits just underneath the valve there. Just give it a push, and when you're finished using it for the day, just pull that little lever there and it will empty all the air out of the tank. It is recommended that you empty the tank when you've finished using it, just to reduce any pressure on the internal gubbings and workings of the machine. Now, underneath it, you'll also see there's a little tightenable and undoable screw there that will just release any fluid out or any moisture that gets trapped inside the unit. Well, I guess the proof of the pudding is to actually see the machine working, and here you can see me using a little bit of black primer on a Vasquez STL that I'll be doing real soon. The machine did not let me down. The compressor worked really well. I did about half an hour of spraying in total, and it cut off every so often, as you would expect it to do, and it came back on. There was no break or interruption, however, in the flow of paint. Everything went smoothly. It was beautiful. It was quiet when it was on, and of course when it wasn't on, all I could hear was the ventilation of the extractor unit there. The flow was consistent. There was no real problems with any of the painting process at all, and I had absolutely no interruptions in flow. When I finished around about 25 to 30 minutes later, I had a feel of the unit. It was a little warm, but it certainly wasn't overly hot. It wasn't anything that I would worry about. Everything worked as it should have done. Everything worked as I would have expected it to done. So the investment I've made in the second Timbertech airbrush compressor that I have bought seems to be well worth the money. Now, like anything, time will tell, so I'll definitely do a follow-up review in a few months' time to let you know how I've got on with it. But at this stage, Timbertech has come through again, and I'm happy to recommend this working fully and as it should do, straight out of the box. Now, if you've enjoyed what you've seen today, please subscribe to the channel. Think about joining the Greedy 3D Patreon. But more importantly to me, I'd like to know what your experience is of the Timbertech range. Have you used this airbrush compressor? Have you found it to work? Have you found any problems with it? Your comments are read by everybody that sees the video and looks at the comments, so any thoughts or opinions you have will be shared by all. So I hope you've enjoyed that today. Just want to say a real quick thank you to all my Patreons. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you next time on Greedy 3D. But just before I go, don't forget, if you want to buy one of these, you can get it from the item description, and a little bit will kick back to the channel. It's another way of you supporting the channel if you want to buy it through the link that I popped down, which is an Amazon affiliate link. Just saying. Thanks all. Catch you later. Bye.